Hi friends, it's Brittany and Get Papyrus and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited you're here with me today because I am breaking in this gorgeous beach themed journal made out of a paper bag. Yes, that cute little turtle is just stenciled modeling paste and some pigment on top. In my last video, I made some stunning pieces of beach themed ephemera. Today, I'm going to be implementing those in my journals, working them in, but I'm going to be doing a bunch of layouts, and this truly is a journal with me. So for the layouts we're going to be working on today, yes, I have some beach washies and some digital images, but I'm going to show you a few different techniques for bringing your layouts to life. And you can do these with any kind of scrap bits that you have. You can use these techniques regardless of what theme journal you're working on. So grab a journal, some digital images, maybe a few pieces of pre-made ephemera, or however you normally like to craft your layouts, and be inspired along the way. A lot of times I do like starting with pieces of pre-made ephemera because it's a starting point for me, and oftentimes that little piece of pre-made ephemera can inspire an entire layout. Whatever scraps bits you have, if you want to use bring some washi, some inks, and paper, scissors maybe, and that's really all you need to get started. Oh, and we will be doing a stencil layout, and I'm going to show you how to stencil some stuff on a page and really bring it to life. So maybe grab a couple of stencils too. Otherwise, that's really all you need. Let's just get started and work with the things we have. And in fact, maybe you don't even want to grab new supplies. Maybe you just want to use up what's right in front of you on your desk. That is also a favorite way to craft, and it's a great way to clean up your desk. So a few things I want to point out here. I purchased some beach themed digital images, but instead of looking for digital images that can be cut out, which there is nothing wrong with that, I prefer to get pages with entire backgrounds on them, like collage papers, as opposed to individual items that have to be fussy cut out. Now, those items are certainly great for different projects and for using focal points, but I really like to use digital images that I can just rip up and collage into my own backgrounds. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So you see the seahorse, I'm using it as a focal point. And instead of just saying, okay, this is a collaged image, I'm going to put this in my journal, I basically use them to recreate a scene in my own image. I hope that makes sense. So I start by ripping the seahorse out of the collage and pasting it down on the paper, and it looks very, very incomplete, right? Well, I take some washi tape, and you can create waves by painting them or drawing them on, splattering. Paint, you can use gesso, colored pencils, however you want to create those waves. I just happen to have some really cool textured washi tape that I got off of AliExpress. And in order to really start to blend these images together into a background, like you often have to do with mixed media, I take some inks, and one of my favorite ways to kind of get a background going is just go around the page with a paddle brush and some distress inks. You can use daubers here, but the daubers create that kind of circular look, which is great for some projects, but I'm really just looking to do some kind of shading and create some hues. And I don't want circular shapes or really any shapes. So that's where the paddle brush kind of comes into play. And I just work my way around the objects that I've already put on the page, kind of going around, sort of highlighting around them. And then I will just add some other things, and I will come back here with probably some more inks and work on blending these into the background. If you don't want to do this with inks, you can do the same thing with light watercolor. Just go around the object, highlight it, and just kind of start taking some lighter paints and blending them together in the background. This is a thinner piece of paper, and the watercolor definitely tends to wrinkle the page, and I was just going for some lighter hues, so that's why I went ahead and used the distress inks. You could do these with spray inks as well, or like I said, any other pigment of your choice. For this background, I really use the washi tapes to inspire me. Oftentimes I will buy washi tapes and then have them sitting in a bucket, and I have no concept of how many washi tapes I truly have, but what I will do is at the beginning of a project, I'll go in the bucket and find the theme or color of washi tapes I'm looking for and dump them out on my desk, and I find that I tend to use them a whole lot more in my layouts, and I have recently come up with different ways to incorporate them I don't think I've ever used in my layouts before. So back to this particular layout, I felt like there was something missing. There was this large gap between the waves and the seahorse, and in order to kind of give it more perspective, I decided to place the dolphin, fussy cut the dolphin, place him out in the front as if he was kind of frolicking and jumping out of the waves. So you see some of the elements I ripped off the page, and some of them I actually fussy cut it out. I don't know why I did which ones that I did, but I definitely wanted to collage them into the background. I didn't want too much of extraneous paper, or else you can't kind of really blend it together all that well. So I had some scrap pages. I hate cleaning up my stencils, so when I use modeling paste and stencil, a lot of times I'll just finish the project I'm working on, and then I'll just take like the leftover modeling paste on the stencil and lightly stencil over scrap papers that I have. And I have this circular stencil and it looks like bubbles, and it's white modeling paste, which I love because you can go over it with any color or pigment that you want, and it looks brilliant going over modeling paste with watercolors. So I just went over the bubbles with this shimmer blue watercolor palette I had, and I was not disappointed. I decided to turn that scrap into a belly band because one of the pieces of ephemera I made in the last video was this adorable little scrappy notebook with the coral and the flower on top. I'm sure you can see that off to the side. By the way, if you've never made scrappy notebooks, this is one of my absolute favorite scrap busting projects. You literally just lay paper on top of each other and run it through the sewing machine. I like creating hidden journaling spots in my journals, and this is one of my absolute favorite ways to do it. Well, I typically try and hide my handwriting if at all possible, and I love using scrappy notebooks this way. I'll go back and put that scrappy notebook in that belly band when the bubbles are totally dry, but for now let's move on to our next layout. I'm calling this the Wish Upon a Starfish layout, and I have to tell you guys, I love how I combine pink and blue pages into this beach journal. Pink isn't typically a color people associate with the beach, but somehow it just works. It absolutely works. Speaking of color combinations, I don't think anything goes along together as well as pink and gold. And I thought the blue the gold rather, tied the blue and the pink in so nicely. So that's why I decided to do this layout. That lace, by the way, I had made a page tab with lace before I started working on this layout, and that was actually made because I was using the lace as a stencil in a different project, and I just love the way that the pink ink dyed the lace. It turned out absolutely gorgeous. So I had already put that down on the page before I started creating this layout, but I thought, how perfect, like this is the perfect start. So I just went ahead and finished the page tab by securing a piece of gold cardstock to the top of the lace, put a couple of gems there, and then took one of the faux postage seashell stamps I made and glued it to the bottom. Again, this is another piece of ephemera I had made in my last video, faux stamps. If you are interested, I will link that in the description box. This label maker I got on AliExpress, and I kind of wasn't sure. I'm a little iffy buying things off of AliExpress, but all in all, it works really good. It's very hassle-free, and I would always buy digital images of words, like word packs, and a lot of times it never had exactly what I wanted. So I feel like the label maker is a real game changer for me. You can easily incorporate any words into your layout, and I typically like to put words into my layout, and it's perfect for labeling pictures and things like that. It has every letter of the alphabet and several different symbols. So in this case, I used the digital image itself to really inspire me and help me decide what I wanted to create with the layout. I went ahead and you see at the bottom of that digital image, the line paper is filled with blue flowers and nautical ropes and things. So I really leaned into that and wanted to accent the page a little bit. I mean, it is really pretty, but there's something that feels, I don't know, I just don't like putting in a lot of unaltered digital images into my journals. I want to personalize them. So I found this pretty little flower, added some bling to it, and lined the side of the page with some lace. After I glued the paper, after I folded the edge of the paper over it and glued it to the next page, it was time to decorate the underlying blue aquarium-like paper. I had a bunch of stickers, and so I decided to just make a sea creature themed page out of it. I really love these holographic stickers, and you may think, oh, it's kind of lame. What am I going to do with those? Well, make an entire layout of them. I know you guys have hordes of stickers and stuff all around you. Probably, if you're anything like me, use your supplies. So I have been dying to use these acrylic paint markers I ordered about a month ago, and I've used them in a couple of layouts, and they do not disappoint. They have that wet, painty-like feel to them. It really feels like you're painting, but just you have a lot of control over them. If you're not one to draw, and you don't feel very artistic, use it to stencil or doodle and just get comfortable with the medium. Once I stenciled a couple pieces of seagrass and coral and starfish in the foreground, I gave the fish some bubbles, and I wanted to flank the aquarium layout with some other sea-styled papers. On one of them, the one that folds over and has the journaling room, I created a pocket, and I snipped it the center with some deckled scissors and inked it up, just so it's clearly a pocket. I fussy cut out some washi tape, like starfish and shells on the washi tape, and painted some little, I just dabbed the bottom with like some shimmery gold paint. Sorry, it's storming at my house if you can hear that thunder. I dabbed it with some shimmery gold paint at the bottom to make it look like a sandy beach edge. And on the page adjacent to the left of the aquarium page, I lined it with some page that sort of looks like blue bubbles, and decided to create another landscape out of it and just some collage some further elements on it. I wasn't exactly sure where it was going, but I kind of wanted to tie it together with the other pages of the fold out. See how easy it was to create that label? I just put discover because I saw the compass and kind of wanted to put a word there and make that the focal point of the page. So I just typed out the word discover. The only thing I will tell you is that when you're holding the handle on each letter, you kind of have to intentionally just hold some pressure there for a minute to really get that nice indentation on the label. But other than that, I really have not had any problems with this. I still had some scraps sitting next to me and sort of some blank area to that page, so I just decided to create a page tab, and I just layered some gold paper along with a fussy cut image of a compass, and it was kind of still looking a little boring to me, so I created a bow just by folding over that nautical kind of looking cording. And because I'm super lazy and hate having to actually tie a knot, I went ahead and just stapled over the whole thing. The staples don't bother me one bit, and I just took one edge of the gold paper, made it a straight edge, and made the other a deckled edge. I just like the way that looks, and glued it down in the journal halfway onto the page to make it look like a page tab. Just make sure your page tabs don't hang over so much that they interfere in the way of your closure. I've been so sad before making some really gorgeous but rather fragile page tabs and then having them fold over on themselves or get bent when I went to actually close and tie up the journal. So just be mindful of that. I wanted to create some extra journaling room, and this page was quite busy. So in order to achieve that and tone it down a little bit, I just added some white gesso, and I love it because you can still see the bubbles coming through. I love that effect. So it's not just like a white blob. That's why, so if you do want a distinguished piece of area to write on, you could just glue, you know, a lighter sheet of paper to the page. But I personally love the gesso look because it just mutes everything and gives you a workable surface to write on. I have to say, even though those were 3 different distinct pieces of paper, I love how we use different styles and different pages to tie them together to make them look like they all kind of are one cohesive layout that work together. Okay, now for another collage layout, but we're gonna incorporate several mixed mediums into this one. This is gonna be a sea cottage layout. If you didn't see, the page I'm actually working on now is the page that I used to hinge our fold out. So it's just flipped over. Okay, so we're kind of working within a small little cluster of pages. The purpose of this sea cottage layout was because I really, really wanted to find a home for at least one of the cute little sea cottages that I made, which I love making whimsical houses. A lot of times I use them as tuck spots. I use them as pockets, as journaling spots, and I'm not sure how I'm going to incorporate the sea cottage that I use in this layout, but we got to make it shine. I want it to be the focal point, and I want it to really kind of stand on its own, I'd say 2 feet, but foundation, if you know what I mean. So here, I'm going to use the same technique I used on our first layout. I'm going to take inks and a paddle brush and just work that collage paper into the background, because now we're not just contending with the collaged page or little section that I ripped out, but we're also contending with that hinged piece of paper. Has its own kind of style and color palette going on there. So I really got to find a way to really kind of tie all of these components together. And one of the ways I'm going to do that in a little bit is actually by painting some sea cottages in the background. I did ink all around this paper, but I was still feeling like it was, when I tried to put that whimsical cottage I made directly on this page, it really felt forced, and it felt way too busy for it to stand out and be the focal point. So I actually decided to incorporate that sea cottage on the page next to it and created a whole new little layout for that. But for the page I'm working on right now, I think it was a great decision. And this is another cool way to incorporate digital images. Actually, start with the digital image as the base and build upon it with your own. You may think it looks kind of corny and hokey, but I don't know. I think it's really, really cute when you use it as the base and layer upon it, and either layer by adding you know, drawing yourself, painting yourself, collaging other pieces around it and over it. I've even used this technique with photos. I've chopped up photos and created focal points and used those focal points to create an entire new picture on my journal page. So just kind of rethink the way you look at, oh gosh, this is just a digital image. How am I gonna incorporate this into my journal? Think of it as a starting point and really focus on ways you can personalize the supplies and the images you already have and put your own twist on it. I think that is how you start creating journals that you fall in love with, and journals that truly represent you and your own personal styles. And again, you may be thinking, well, I don't think that pink page goes with your layout on the left. You know, sometimes I will make entirely different journal pages, even if they're next to each other, with completely haphazardly, with no rhyme or reason. I don't need to tie them together. But when I looked at that cottage page and realized, like, I don't think there was a way to work the cottage into that specific page, I knew that I would be creating another landscape that kind of tied to the page next to it and worked my cottage into the landscape on the pink page. And that pink page it has glistens of water in the background, and it was totally workable. So I started by creating some waves. Well, first I inked it and I realized that wasn't going to cut it. It just looked distressed, but there was no landscape to it. So I went ahead and just created some waves with watercolor paint, and don't overwork it. I just sort of started blending colors in and kind of shaping them by like curling, making like maybe like half C's with my brush, so they curled on over each other, and then just started bleeding in some darker color blues and some purples to give it some dimension. And then went ahead and I thought, okay, so how am I going to tie this page together? Well, I'm going to let the water kind of seep over in front of the cottages and use those same exact colors to create waves in front of the sea cottages. And then all of a sudden you sort of have a layout that is two layouts that are cohesive and kind of look like they're meant to be next to each other. I will tell you, these sea cottages are nothing special. They kind of look like blobs, and at first I was getting kind of worried. I was like, oh, these look kind of lame. It looks like a first grader painted these, and they kind of do. I have to tell you, off camera, I will likely go over these with some gel roller pens, or maybe my acrylic paint pens, and add some more details, because I guess my complaint is that they kind of look like blobs. They don't really have a whole lot of kind of details to them. But if I were to add some, you know, maybe bricks with my acrylic paint pens and maybe some stripes, I do end up painting like a surfboard to the side of that orange house. Maybe I'll add some birds up top, but I think if I were to just add some more details to these, I could get these looking really good and get them looking more like the cottages in the front, right? I guess that's kind of the risk you take when you're trying to create a landscape and you're painting the same thing as like the digital image. Probably is going to look better. It's going to look more realistic. And so maybe it was a bad choice to try and paint sea cottages. Maybe I should have tried to paint like some boats or something different in the background. I should have painted some boats and like a dock or something like that. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to go with it. And I end up lightening the mood by painting some coconut palms, or some palm trees rather, off to the side of the cottages. And I felt like that really helped kind of bring everything into focus. It's kind of weird because you have cottages up front, but the cottages are kind of the same size in the background, which I think was throwing me off. But the way I sort of handled that was just to paint some palm trees, and I think it off to the side there, and I think it really helped kind of bring everything together. Now these are going to be some really loose palms, and by loose I mean very loose. I'm just drawing a tree trunk with some brown paint and taking some greenish brown stuff and kind of just painting on some palm fronds without a care in the world. And once I do that, I just take a little bit of a different shade of green and extend some lines off the palm fronds to actually try and make them look like fronds. You can get fancy with this and paint some coconuts. This was absolutely not my best attempt at palms, but since the painting was really loose and I was just having fun with it, I didn't really stress too much about it. The sea cottages are obviously extremely whimsical and look like really childish, so I kind of just went with that theme. I could have done better for myself with the palm trees, but I was like, you know what, we're going to keep this really whimsical and not overdone. And I found this layout really cute actually when I was done, and it's definitely not, I'm not really proud of this. I wouldn't really go out of my way to show this to anybody, but I just thought it was really cute, and I wanted to show you guys the concept of how you can take some digital images or some collaged, images, whatever you have, collage them into the background and create some additional focal points, kind of create a background and use multiple different medias to create a layout that you love. And that was the purpose of this video, and hopefully I did that for you. Ultimately, I realized this beach house would look the best if I created a platform almost as if it was sort of on a dock and had some stilts coming down. That would kind of solve that problem of it looking like it's just riding the waves after a hurricane. That's no fun. So I gave it some legs, and now it just looks like it's a happy little house in the middle of an ocean, and I could not be more thrilled with how I incorporated this sea cottage into the layout. And I glued around the edges, so it is a perfect little pocket or tuck spot. And I am going to definitely tuck some magical pieces ephemera into this when I'm done. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you were journaling along with me as you watch this video, and I hope this gave you plenty of ideas and inspiration regardless of the type of journal you're working on. I hope you're not getting fatigued with all the beach and ocean content. It's near and dear to my heart. It's what I love, and hopefully soon I will be giving you a full flip through of this gorgeous beauty. So guys, if you enjoyed this and want to see more of ink and papyrus, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you the next time.